Hello and welcome to the Missed Q, a theater podcast. I'm your host, Ricky, and with me is co-host Jackie.
Hello.
And our guests today are Peyton and Russell.
Hi.
A couple of veterans from the theater here in Havasu.
Oh, yeah.
So give us a little intro about yourself. Who are you? What's your age? A little bit of backstory about you. just so the listeners know.
Cute little slate.
Okay.
So I'm Russell. I'm 17 years old. I've been dancing for 7 years with Arizona Coast, and I love theater with all my heart. I'm going to school for exercise physiology at NAU in the fall.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Peyton, and I'm 18 years old, and I have been dancing for about 13 years, 10 years with Arizona Coast, and doing theater for about 10 years with Grace Arts Live. And in the fall, I'm going to the Herberger Institute, which is the School of Music, Dance, and Theater at ASU in Tempe, Arizona. And I'm majoring in musical theater.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So before we got started here, you were telling me about you recently came into that decision to officially, so say again what that drive was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So sophomore year, so about 2 years ago, I saw a production of Hadestown. It was a Broadway tour. And it wasn't my first professional production I'd seen, but it definitely, the actors had so much heart, and just you could feel the passion watching the show, and I was sobbing at the end of the show. And I looked to my mom and I said, oh, I'm doing that forever. This is my passion. This is what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Because you always had that love for theater, and I love that you can pinpoint that moment where you're like, that's it.
No, it was really special.
This was when
I literally
you
think
knew.
about it every day.
Yeah.
That's my Roman Empire.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Love
I just
that.
recently heard about Hadestown. Well, I knew about Hadestown, but I finally listened to it and looked at the lyrics and all that. It's a very complex story, but obviously it's based off of Greek mythology, and it was just really cool. I was always into Greek mythology in high school, and so it was just a really cool story and a really cool way to tell it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's super amazing show.
I
Yeah.
feel like the way that they staged it too,
Oh,
takes
yes.
the story and the music and it's mixes it all together so well.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Like the
I think it's
swinging
perfect.
lights and just the
Yes.
things that happen.
The
where you're
I was gonna say, yeah, the turntable.
Everything.
Gosh, I've
So
never
great.
seen it. I was saying I need to get a list of shows that I need to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that we're doing a podcast about theater, I'm like, oh man, I need to get more educated on it. But that's partly why we have Peyton here, because she has a bunch of hot takes on
Literally.
new Broadway stuff.
Yeah,
So educate me a little bit.
Oh, I don't know where to start.
So
even.
let's start on Jackie was telling me that the Notebook soundtrack. Sorry,
Cast album.
cast album. First of all, terminology.
That's strike number one.
Use you.
As we
God
go
bless.
along in these episodes, we will learn new terminology. Anyway,
right.
the cast album. Well, me and the listeners.
Oh right.
We'll
Sorry.
listen. We'll learn together. Anyway, so the cast album came out on the same day, she said, as Taylor Swift.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, they really
about
did that.
Yes, because actually I posted on Instagram a picture of one of the songs in the Notebook, and I said, "Oh, this is my Tortured Poets Department,"
Yeah.
or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
Taylor Swift's album is called. And people swiped up on my story and were like, "That's crazy. What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, this is better."
So you lost some friends then.
Right.
Right,
They're
I
like,
did, because I'm not a Swiftie.
You're unfollowing me now. Okay.
Wow.
Great.
It's fine.
Wow. So what's so special about the Notebook?
I think it's just a story that everyone knows sort of and just loves, and
Yeah.
I think it's really cool to see all these elements from the book and the movie get translated into a stage production. They have the big scene in the rain and it actually rains on
Yeah.
stage. That's so magical that people are getting to see it in a new light on stage.
Yeah. So Jackie, you were telling me that it's different than the movie. It's more based
Yes.
off of the book. Is that right?
Yeah, it's more based off the book, and it tells the story of the two characters, but there's 3 different time periods. So there's them in their teenage years, them in their 20s, and then them when they're older. But the characters are different. They're different races throughout the show. They're different age. It's just really unique.
It is really unique, and I think that's really awesome about new Broadway is they're exploring all these new ways to be more diverse.
Right.
So that with The Notebook, or even a new show that was just on Broadway, How to Dance in Ohio. That was a show about 7 autistic teens, and they used like real autistic people, and it was like amazing. Got an amazing turnout. It's a beautiful show, and so I think that is awesome.
Wow. So what's your source for all this knowledge? How do you keep up
I
with all
live
this?
and breathe theater. Like, you should look at my Instagram. Like, that's all I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see that you post basically pictures from Broadway productions and
All the
stuff.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So there's no real context either. It's
Yeah.
Just a post.
picture you like.
I just
Yeah.
like it. So then I'm like, oh, this is post.
Well, and
on
the
my
good
story.
old like social media algorithm is like, oh, she likes theater. Here's another thing. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
this? What about this?
Well, and I follow all the Broadway like
Yeah.
stars and
Yeah.
stuff. Like Joy Woods, who is the middle alley
Queen.
Right.
So
in
amazing.
Joy
The
for Joy
Notebook.
Woods.
She's fantastic. I go on her live stream because she does like a live stream like every day while she's getting ready for the show. And I always watch her live stream because she's so funny. And the other day, actually, she was on there and she was talking about how she did Madagascar, the musical, in high school. And so I texted Allie and I said, oh my gosh, we're making the next Joy Woods this summer. Like,
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Grace Arts Live is doing Madagascar.
oh, yes.
For
the
the
summer
workshop.
workshop.
For the summer
That's
workshop here in Lake Havasu, by the way. But wow, that's cool. So yeah, you never know. I
Right?
don't know. That's crazy.
I love for when they were talking about when the show was in previews for The Notebook, the rain scene, they were freezing. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
They didn't warm the water. So it was cold
Right.
water, and then the air conditioning was blowing, and like they didn't plan for like the floor to have like holes or different things in it. So
Yes.
there was like puddles, people were slipping, they were like getting hypothermia. So they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we went to Broadway, now we need to warm the water. We need to have all these things in place.
Definitely.
But if you just go and see the show, you just assume all of those things were in place the whole time.
Exactly.
No.
It's amazing, like, how much goes into it. Like, I know for The Notebook and The Outsiders, that also has Rain, a new Broadway show, in The Rumble, they had to completely rebuild the floor of the stage. Like, build a layer on top to make, like, a filtration system for the rain, so it didn't
really cool.
ruin the stage.
So it's more intense than West Side Story.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah,
like
the
gravel.
Rumble, yes, their stage is like turf. Like, it's turf everywhere.
Yeah.
But like
Wow.
it drains though, like
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
turf. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so people who sit in like the front couple rows, they like always say, "Oh, I'm coming home with turf in my shoes," and stuff like that, because they're dancing. It's such a dance-heavy show that they're just
Right.
kicking around turf everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And you always think, like, what are they going to think of next?
Yeah, no, seriously. Well, when I saw Kimberly Akimbo on Broadway, which was a 2023 Musical of the Year from the Tony Awards, and amazing show, by the way. And they ice skate on stage, like real ice skating. Like, not rollerblades, like real ice skates.
Wow.
Wow. That's
so
crazy.
so high above community level.
Right? Yeah. Their stage is made out of synthetic ice, and they dip their ice skates in glycerin right before they go on stage, and they're doing like full ice skating around the stage.
Wow,
tricks
what
and
a
everything.
trip. What a trip. Well, Russell,
Yeah.
you always rise up to any occasion, so if you had to ice skate for real
Yeah.
on stage, would you be able to rise up to that?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Right.
I bet
I
you
love
would.
ice skating.
They
They're
went
like,
through
bring it on.
They went through like a training, like the cast. They had to do an ice skating training. It was really cool.
So how
So
many
fun.
people are ice skating on stage at the same time?
Well, the cast is really small. It's like
Like,
a
yeah.
Putnam-sized cast, like
Oh.
6 to 8 people, and so there's most of the time it's like 4 people at a time, but there's one scene where everyone in the show ice skates on stage.
Wow.
So,
Well,
like,
I guess
all
that's no more. That's no different really than like Disney on Ice, right? Ooh, I don't.
I
wanna-
mean,
They're singing and stuff.
they're singing, and the stage is
So
smaller.
we're
I've never
better
seen
But it's
Disney
good.
on
what I'm
Ice.
hearing. Me neither.
But it's good because it's synthetic ice that like because the show's not about ice skating at all.
Right.
Right.
So when it's like normal parts of the show, it's safe to like walk on with our normal shoes and
Okay,
stuff.
gotcha.
And so no one like gets hurt.
So it's nothing like Disney on Ice, is what she's saying.
Okay,
It's not real ice.
okay. Such a nice way to say that. Thank you, Peyton. Wow. Okay.
Well, and then Water for Elephants, which is also
Oh,
based on a book. The
crazy.
acrobatics in that show.
It's crazy. Although
gosh.
I was listening to the cast album. Cost album.
The cost
I was listening to
album.
the cast album for Water for Elephants the other day, because Grant Gustin, is that his name?
Yes.
The Flash.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
played the Flash. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I know that. I understand
you.
that reference.
There you go.
Wow, I'm so proud. He was also in Glee. I don't know if you're a big Glee watcher, but
not after
he
the first
played-
couple seasons, no.
Okay, well, he was in the
I was
first
like, he
couple
was in the
seasons.
first
couple
Yeah,
seasons.
he played one of the bad guys, like a warbler.
Warbler.
Warbler. I haven't heard
Make him
that
sound like
in
a turkey is
forever.
crazy.
I'm a Gleek, okay? Like
You're not a
For the people
Swiftie.
at home, that is a Glee
Thank you.
geek.
I'm a Gleek.
Glee. Not when you spit water from your
I
mouth
just spilled water all
unintentionally.
over myself. Yeah, I'm a Gleek. Anyways,
I love that. I love that for you.
Grant Gustin is in Water for Elephants, and so I was like, oh, I'll try this out. And then I forget her last name, but Isabel, she plays the main girl.
Oh gosh, yeah.
She was in The Prom. She played
Uh-huh.
the original Alyssa.
I know who you're talking about. Don't
Yeah,
remember
I
her
know.
name.
I'm like,
I know it's Isabel something,
Mhm.
but she plays the main girl. And do you guys watch Broadway.com vlogs?
Nor. No.
guilty. I do. we're very similar.
Okay. So Broadway.com is like the Broadway, what's it called? Like they have everything about Broadway. Like anything you need to know. You can buy
so
tickets
it's like
off there.
IBDB, then.
Like
Internet Broadway.
like Encyclopedia
database.
Britannica, but for
Kind of,
Broadway.
but it's like
Yes.
there's news and there's vlogs and there's pictures, like
Yes.
everything.
So they have like
Interesting.
all the social media accounts and for marketing for Broadway shows, and like you can get ticket information off there, or you can hear about auditions on there and stuff. Like it's just like everything
Oh,
like
wow,
that has to do with
okay.
Broadway. And same with like Playbill, obviously. And
Obviously.
sorry.
Obviously.
Ricky's like, what's Playbill?
No, come on.
But for every Broadway show, or almost every Broadway show, they pick a cast member and they give them like a little camera and they do an 8-week vlog of their life in their Broadway show. And it's really cool to see in the different shows. So I was watching the Water for Elephants Broadway.com vlog, and so I was like, I should listen to this cast album. It's really confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't know what's going on.
Like, why?
Like, it's just really hard to follow the plot. Like, I know what happens in the show, but at the same time, I don't listening to it.
And what's confusing about it, I think, is it's one of those shows where it's actually kind of a depressing show,
Yes.
but the music isn't depressing.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
the lyrics of the songs are sad and depressing, but the tempo is upbeat and the song is
Yes.
upbeat, and you're like, wait, but they're talking about, like, hurting animals.
Yeah, and it's like in the Great Depression.
it's,
area,
yeah, it's
and
like
so-
literally the saddest time, and they're like, the music is like all happy and like it's so
Yes.
strange.
I mean, it's really cool that
but
they did that.
but very confusing at the same time. You're like, I
Yes.
think I know what they're talking about, and then you're like, wait, but they just said this.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would really love to like see that show because I think a lot of it's missed and lost in translation,
Yes.
at least for me, because I'm not like seeing it in person. I don't see those scenes that are happening. Like the opening number, I'm like, what is this? What's going
Yeah.
on?
Well, I feel like that happens a lot. Sometimes there's songs that like I will love on a cast album,
Mhm.
and then I see it in person, and I'm like, that song
Yeah.
didn't do it for me. Or songs that I'm like, oh my god, I skip that every time, and then I see it
Exactly.
live, and I'm like, that's my new favorite song.
Yeah.
There was even the other day on The Notebook, they were performing Good Morning America. And there's this one song in the show, it's called I Want to Go Back, and the two younger Allies sing it. And I was like, it's so beautiful, I love this song, but why are they singing it?
Right.
Like, I didn't really understand. And they performed that song, and it made so much sense because the like oldest Allie was like watching them as if she was reading the journal.
Wow. Okay, so it's very visually driven then. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
And so listening to that, you wouldn't know that. But then when you see it, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I think that's how a lot of musicals are.
Yeah. I really want to
Sometimes.
see that show so bad.
Well, and I think The Notebook, it connects you even if you don't know the movie, if you've never read the book, because a lot of people know someone who has
Mm-hmm.
losing their memory and
Right.
has Alzheimer's or
Or
dementia
like a
or
past
any of those
love
things.
or something like that.
Yes,
yeah.
like
Everyone
something
can
that's
connect.
lost. You can connect to that like desire to find that person or that thing again.
Yes.
Like-
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Ricky, there's a lot of
Wow.
book to musicals right now.
That's what I heard
Yes.
yesterday.
And it's really cool actually because a lot of these books are actually books that are read in either like middle schools or high schools around the US. Like Great Gatsby
I was
is
going
in
to
school
say, I
right
read
now.
The Great Gatsby.
And The Outsiders, like a lot of 8th graders I think read that book.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool because it's also drawing a new audience into the theater, and
True.
younger people are being exposed to these things because they're reading the books and they see not just the movie adaptation but now the musical adaptation.
That's how I felt about Seussical. Tell you what.
He's like Dr. Seuss. Yes.
Yes.
One fish,
Okay.
two fish, red fish, blue fish.
I
Am I
love
right?
These are novels that are being
14 years
turned
of
into
who?
production.
Musicals, guys.
What I'm really curious about though is, so there's actually, are you familiar with Wild Party, the musical? That one's
no.
old.
It's old.
That
but
one's old.
Oh. No, I'm not
I
familiar
mean,
with
it's
that.
not like Pirates of Penzance old, which I know you love.
Hey, I
No,
brought
but it's like
up.
past his time still.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so back in the day, there was 2 shows, Wild Party, that were competing to be on Broadway. So 2 shows under the same name, with the same story, but with different like music and scripts.
So one was like a
Odd.
Kroger brand version of.
right.
But they were happening at the same time, and they're competing to be on Broadway. So one was picked, obviously, but I think that's interesting because that's happening now with The Great Gatsby. Because there's The Great Gatsby that's on Broadway right now with Jeremy Jordan and Ava Noblezada. Is that how you say her name? Last name?
Maybe.
I think so.
No idea.
I
Just
think
go
so.
with it.
My queen.
That's
I
fine,
love her
yeah.
so much. Anyways, so there's that show right now, and there's also another Gatsby that's being created right now, and they're competing to see which one's better. So we'll see, because
Huh.
they open and they start previews in the next month,
Yeah.
and no one really knows this new Gatsby. It's just called Gatsby because they haven't released much information on it.
Okay, so So the one that has Jeremy Jordan in it, that's pretty true to the style of like, and the original story. Because, or do you think this new one's gonna be like some crazy modernized version? Like,
Okay, we do know this new one is gonna be like definitely eclectic in a way. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's definitely a different take.
Yeah.
What is this, like
But-
Wicked?
okay,
but for
it's
Great
like it's
Gatsby?
like the version of Jesus Christ Superstar that I
Right.
did in 2006, where we had guns on stage and we were doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that
Russell's
was our
face.
version. I'm saying yes,
Guns.
yes.
is
I had a
insane.
sleeves camo vest
the
Oh,
on.
I've seen
Bible.
that picture.
What?
Yeah,
And
so-
I was
and-
actually confused because, like,
Yo,
I
what show
know I
is
love
this?
that. Like, I love different takes of shows.
Okay.
So much.
Oh, like Romeo and Juliet, with Leonardo DiCaprio. They have guns instead of swords, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you think that it's possible that they could have some radical version of Gatsby coming out?
I do. But I'm also more interested to see, because a lot of people with the Great Gatsby right now, the one that's already on Broadway with Jeremy Jordan, they don't think that the story fully fits the description of the book. Because it's written, the musical, more as like a love story between Daisy and Gatsby. And that's not the
Not
point
at
of the
all.
book
Right.
at all. And so it's almost like they got these 2 Broadway Diamond of the Seasons, and Bridgerton quote.
I was like, did you just
Shameless
quote?
plug. Okay. We see you.
The new season's coming out.
Yes.
half.
Anyways, so I think they got these stars, right, that everyone knows their name and everyone loves them, and
That's what they're counting on to
yes,
Right.
And so I'm really curious if this new show will be more true to that story, because they don't have the Broadway stars like
right, and that'll be, I think, a good test as to the just the audience over there, and see if they truly care about the story and this is more true to the story. Will they pick
Or-
it based on that, or will they go, well, we love Jeremy Jordan, so we of course pick this version?
exactly,
Right.
and that's what I'm
So that you're
very
going to learn a
curious
lot about that particular audience, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
I was looking at other shows that are based on books, and I found there is a concept album of a rock opera
Oh.
based on Moby Dick
I actually think I did know that. I've
called
never
Kill
listened
the
to it.
Whale. And I was like, what?
Kill the Whale is crazy.
Right.
What?
So I only listened to like one song. But I was like, is this a real thing? It really is. Like they're
Oh, wow.
they're trying to turn it into
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
know, there is a crazy amount of musicals out there. Like
Seriously.
things that you wouldn't even imagine.
Right.
Like that would be a musical in there.
1776.
Is 17 again becoming a musical?
It's been a
Yes.
musical for a long time.
It's been a musical for a
Yeah.
long time. Wow. Okay.
There's a couple others though that I feel like I was reading like new and upcoming like next year or
Really?
and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I never thought that one was one that would come. I can't think of any right now.
Yeah, 17 again has been a musical for a while because I know it's been available on MTI for about a couple of years now too. So
Right.
theaters
Oh.
anywhere can
So
do
I'm
it.
surprised like Clueless isn't a musical.
It is.
Is it?
It's in the West End right now.
Wow. Wow.
We're just educating right here.
This is
You're
great.
joking. Wait,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's in the
Thank
West
you.
End
Is it
right
good
now.
though?
Yeah, I've
I mean,
heard it's pretty
from
good.
what I've
I-
heard.
How,
yeah.
It can't be. I don't know what it is. I've never
I
heard of it.
need to listen to it.
Well, because it's in the West End, and so
Yeah.
that means though it will probably come to Broadway soon because a lot of shows that are in the West End transfer to
Well,
Broadway.
yeah, like the cabaret revival
Yes.
with Eddie,
which is amazing,
Redmayne.
by the
Yeah,
way.
she's
I
awesome.
love that interpretation because they did cabaret a little bit differently.
I got to see Cabaret at Studio 54 in New York.
Yeah, that's
with
awesome.
Alan Cumming
Okay.
and Emma Stone.
Oh wow!
Just casually drop
I
that
know,
bomb
I think
on
he's
us.
been waiting
Like,
to
what?
drop that.
Yeah.
Like, by the way,
Holding on to that nugget for an hour.
Have you seen anything on the new cabaret revival?
No.
Oh wow,
Oh.
it's a trip.
It,
Really?
It's a trip. Like it's very different than how it normally is.
Yeah.
Like, as
Like-
far as what? Like costuming? Just
Yes,
Yes.
one. It's which I love the costuming. I think it's so cool because it's so
the dancing is
Like-
also different.
disillusioned.
yes,
You know?
it's very different.
And it's really cool because it's in the I think it's in the August Wilson Theater.
Yes. I
Yes,
believe
it's in the
so.
August Wilson Theater in New York, which I actually saw Funny Girl in that theater, and it's with Leah Michelle,
Casually.
which is fun.
Okay.
Oh,
Very
oh,
subtly.
but I'm
We're
dropping.
just dropping.
Yeah, why aren't you like name dropping like 3 at a
Gosh.
time, babe? Like, what's going on?
Oh, well,
No, I'm kidding.
I was going to explain something.
Yeah, go.
So the August Wilson is like a normal theater, right? Like audience stage. But they like rebuilt the theater for the new revival of Cabaret to make it like a circle stage in the middle of the theater and seats all around. And it's like so secretive.
theater
Like they make you
around.
put like a thing over your camera when you're in there. And there's like pre-show entertainment. It's like a whole experience.
Wow.
That's
And
fun.
the like marquee doesn't say Cabaret, it says the Kit Kat Club.
Yeah.
And so it's like your real
Wow.
thing. Like
Yeah.
they
It's an
treat it
immersive
less like a
experience.
show
Like, it's
and
very
more
immersive.
like you're actually in the
Yeah.
cabaret with them.
And I feel like there's a lot, like, I mean, Company is now on tour here,
Mhm.
but they did it in the West End.
Wrong pipe.
Give her a second.
They did it in the West End, but
Yes.
instead of Bobby being a boy, Bobby is a girl.
and all the rules are switched.
All the roles are switched. It's so different and so unique. It's actually coming to Vegas at the Smith Center, and I was like, I kind of need to go see it.
You're all, oh,
The girl
road
who
trip.
plays Bobby is really good. She was in
Oh yeah, she's
Beetlejuice.
amazing.
So, Russell, what new shows? What are your favorite new shows? And what have you been listening
Or
to?
what do you like? It doesn't have to be new.
Yeah, it could be old.
Yeah, and don't feel pressure
Well-
because Peyton's here.
Well, my biggest.
Dropping the Tony nominations.
Hey,
Well,
I can talk
obviously.
about Tony nominations if you want.
Oh, she's
We're
still
gonna have
going.
you back every single
Every week.
You're gonna be our Tony special episode.
Oh yeah,
And you're gonna be our
Yes.
guest every year.
right. It's like I'm gonna be like the weatherman, but for the Tonys, like for
Yes.
the new
Yes.
Broadway like tea.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
When we
Broadway
just
tea.
need the Broadway tea, we'll be like, and here's Peyton.
Anyways,
Yeah, right? And
here's
I'll
the
have-
thing
I
with the
have my
weather.
own
So Russell,
Hi, yes.
back to you.
Of course, I'm a chorus line sucker.
Okay,
Oh my
yes.
god.
Of course.
That is what got me into dance for real. My mom was like, watch this movie. I'm like, okay. Like, what? I was like, it's the old one. And I was like, it's
Which
just
is
gonna be
so
really bad.
good.
It's so good. So good. So, literally just watching them, the audition process, I was like, oh, I'm scared. Like, I don't want to do it. That's really scary.
Was
And
this
then-
before? This was obviously before you got into theater. right?
No,
before
this
your
is
first audition.
Yeah, this is before I got into theater, and so she showed me, and I was like, no, absolutely not. But then they like went through all of their individual stories and how like all of them relate to each other. But then like the love story and the impeccable dancing. I'm like, it's just such a good show
It is really
all
good
around,
show.
and the special effects were really the special effects. They literally all of them in a line danced up to the mirror, and then they all turned around, but the reflections didn't, and they like walked out of the mirror. I was like, what's going on? But it was so good. I love Chorus Line with all my heart.
I got to see that at the I think the Gamage a long time ago. So that's what I got to see. Yes.
I love that. That's
I was
exciting.
listening to a podcast the other day, and they were actually talking about a chorus line
Mm-hmm.
and talking about how it's a story where they were worried that not everyone understands like the ballet world,
Right?
And they're auditioning and shows and things like that. So maybe it wouldn't get a good reception. But the reality is, it's the story of like having a dream and pushing towards it and doing anything, and that's something everyone can relate to.
Exactly, and that's what all those chorus line dancers are doing. They're paying their dues. They're getting through the chorus so they can get to the top. Like they're doing all that, and it's just so inspirational. Like the girl, I don't even know her name. The girl at the very end, she was like, I hate theater, I hate singing, but I want to be in theater because this is where I met my people. And then you have like the married couple, and they're doing it together, and like one of the guy's sisters got him into it. I was like, it's just amazing. I love
Wasn't there one, when I saw it, the girl who originated Brooke and Legally Blonde on Broadway, I saw her in a chorus line.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
fun.
I'm not going to lie. I went and saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually know her. This is kind of
Right?
cool.
You're like,
and then
oh.
afterwards, I was walking to the car, and she was like, I saw her come out the door, and she was like quickly walking, and she like looked at me and gave me a little nod, and I'm like,
You're like, wow, this is awesome.
okay.
That happened to me. So at Gamage, well, we weren't at Gamage yet. It was in January. My mom and I went to go see Jagged Little Pill, the Broadway tour.
Oh my god, I love that.
Amazing.
Yes,
One of
amazing.
my favorites.
Yes.
It was so good. But my mom and I went, and we were eating at a restaurant pretty close to Gamage, and I turned around and I said, I think that girl's in the show. And she was like, how do you know? Like, we haven't seen the show yet. And I was like, no, I follow her on Instagram. Like, I'm pretty sure that girl's in the show. And it was like 15 minutes before, like, the show was, like, supposed to start. Okay, not 15 minutes, like 30 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And we were, like, across the street from the theater. But I was like, what? She was just, like, getting fries, no makeup on or anything. And then, like, I was right, because 30 minutes later, she comes out fully ready. She's in the first number, and we're like, what is going on? It was so amazing.
Wow.
It was fun.
That's crazy.
Little run-in,
No, I could
Like,
never.
that's so amazing.
right?
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying though. If I'm not ready, half hour at least before.
So that's the
Right.
thing, is that our call at Grace Arts is like 2 hours before
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
Theirs is like, just be here 30 minutes before.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Literally.
they're counting on them to like warm up
That and
on
they're
their own on the
getting
way to the
paid,
theater.
and it's
well,
their job. So
Right.
Yeah.
if they don't show up on time,
So
Yeah.
thinking, both of you, but I'm going to start with you.
Oh, no.
Thinking about, I feel like you have this ability to play characters from what I've seen you do at Grace Arts and at the high school, that, like, where do you pull inspiration from? Ricky and I were talking about this yesterday. Like, you have this ability to portray characters that are, like, beyond your years. Like, I know where I get, like, my life experience from. Like, that goes into characters I play, and I know Ricky does the same
right,
thing.
because I just had that reel from the podcast I was on
Yes.
about my acting
Which I loved
toolbox.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I've never shared that with anybody. That's a very personal thing, and that's part of my process, and I'm very private about my process. I don't go over lines with really anybody. I'm very private about my whole thing. But anyway, so I was realizing, like, I have all this life experience and all this, like, let's say pain from life that I pull from. But you, being so young, you seem to be able to give that performance at such a young age. And I really saw it when we did Putnam County Spelling Bee together, where you really just rose to the occasion with all of these veteran performers who have been doing it for so long, and you just blended right in because your professionalism, but also your performance was at a level that is beyond your years. So where do you pull that from?
I think even though I'm young, like, I've definitely had my fair share of experience that I can use mentally and really get into a headspace for me, depending on the character, good and bad. I also just take a lot of inspiration from, like, the people around me. So, like, for Olive, like, I have a 7-year-old little brother. So, like, even though it's not the same, and my character wasn't 7 years old or anything like that, but, like, I look at the youth, and I was, like, picking up things they did, and I was like, oh, well, I would love to put that into my character. And then I just do that all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what character I'm playing, older or younger. I try to, like, find traits that I see people in similar situations do and make it my own by incorporating that. I like method acting. I think that's really a good way. It can be dangerous sometimes, but I think if you find a good medium, it
Right,
can be
and
helpful.
it seems like you're kind of a student of the human condition, and that's kind of what you use. to
Yeah,
fuel
it
you.
definitely is what I use. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that.
And Russell, I feel like in thinking of dance, you have to often portray characters without, I mean, you're not saying lines, you're not singing songs.
Right.
Like, how do you pull, I feel like you are so good when you're dancing.
Yeah, you've really moved audiences
Like,
literally without saying a word.
You tell that story so well.
Thank you. Really, really, it's not me. Whenever I am dancing, it's usually not for me. Usually I do it to move people. I do it to make people laugh, to make people smile, like whatever. But I do it and it's just like, let it all breathe. And because most of the time I'm like amped up, anxious. But then when I'm dancing, I'm like, what's going on? Muscle memory. And then faces everything. Like during our Schindler's List dance for a showcase, oh my God, literally the entire time, like I came on stage after I went off stage with Ian, and we both came on stage and we choreographed our own, like, basically dance duet together. And it was good because he's the new generation coming up and I'm the old generation leaving.
Right.
And he is keeping up so well. He's in sync with me, even in ballet. I'm like,
I love that. I love that you're passing on the torch.
yeah, and he's doing so great. And honestly, that wasn't even about me. I was like, this is about us right now. Like, we're going into their section where I'm moving out into a new world. You're coming into mine. Like, I love telling that story. And just our Schindler's List dance alone was beautiful for me.
Yeah, I think we all kind of share like one heart, like when
Yeah.
we're performing. Like it really feels like we are connected in that way. And I think we get so passionate about what we're doing that like even when we exit stage, like we're still kind of in that headspace and we have to kind of leave that headspace for a moment, but like we carry it with us. I think all of Grace Arts people do that, and because we're so close and so passionate about what we do, and I think it's really amazing. Like one of my favorite part of performing is rehearsal. Like I love building my character, and I love those interactions that I get with my castmates during rehearsal and workshopping the show and to make it the beautiful piece it is.
Speaking of workshopping, at the high school level, it is an entirely different world because, of course, like, Phillips is there and he is our director and he like loosens the reins. He's like, you guys, this is your show, especially with Alice by Heart. He was very hands off, and I was choreographing with Bailey and we were blocking scenes out with me and Bailey, and Peyton was giving me ideas and we were looking at videos from other high schools collaborating together, and I was like, that's workshopping. Like,
you have a lot of committed people
certainly.
in that class.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
When I was in that class, I was the only one. Me and like one or other person did Grace's shows.
Yeah.
Everybody else was in there for the easy credit, so nobody took it seriously. It was very frustrating when I was in there. So I think it's awesome though, because you have, like, when I saw Alice by Heart, you could tell everybody was so into the story they were telling.
Right. Yeah, and now it's the entire Grace Arts family at the high school. Like, and Ari had never been in a Grace Arts show before, and she's a senior this year, and she came and she's in High School Musical right now. Right. And I don't know if she's doing a good job or not. I don't know what the show's going to look like, but I'm going to go see it, and I'm excited to see Ari, and I'm excited to see all the other high schoolers that are in there as well.
I'm really excited to see High School Musical at Grace Arts. I think it's really special to see this kind of new generation, and obviously, like, we have the old ones like Bailey and but not that many actually of them. It's a lot of new kids, and I think that's so exciting and so important to keep this program growing and building, and I'm really excited to see these new kids get a chance to shine.
This was a big hit, I feel, this year, because I did all the interviews for the senior slideshow project, and I'm like, man, the theater's losing quite a few seasoned performers.
There's a lot of people leaving.
But it's also, new ones are growing.
And you guys have really done a great job as role models for that younger generation.
Yeah, building their self-confidence is the biggest thing, because I mean, Ian and Ava coming in as the two leads right off the bat, like, Ian's had some good lead roles in the past, and then Ava's been mostly ensemble and, like, featured dancer, and like it's really good that they're getting this
I'm
experience
so
now.
excited because when I was their age, like
Right.
literally exactly their age, in 8th grade going into high school, was when I was cast in Hairspray,
Mhm.
and I was Tracy, and that was an amazing experience for me. That was really one of my first like big roles.
Yeah.
And I am so thankful for that. I think it really helped me grow into an actor, and that was like my starting point kind of in
Yeah.
those lead roles, and I think that's really exciting and the perfect moment for those two. So
And
excited
for them
to see
to do
what
it
they do.
together too, since they know each
So
other, they're more
special.
comfortable with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I know even just sitting at auditions for High School Musical, I was there with Heidi and we were like working the table and getting kids signed in, and there were so many kids coming in that I'm like, oh,
Like, yeah.
you're new.
Mhm.
Like,
Like, who
this
are
is
you?
amazing. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. I'm like, who are you? Tell me, how did you get like, how did you hear about
How
it?
did you hear
What
about
did
us?
Like
Take the
all of
survey.
those things, right?
Mhm.
Like, fill out this form, rate us, 1 to
Please.
5. But I feel like there's so many people that they either don't know it exists or they don't know the process of how to get involved.
yes,
And I think something happened this year where all of a sudden there's just all of these new people, or people finally like have that courage to like
Well,
Yeah.
maybe
do
people
it.
looked and went, "Oh my gosh, all these people are leaving. This
Right.
is my shot.
They're like,
Peyton's
we
not
gotta
going to
get
be
it now.
auditioning anymore.
Russell
I have
Val?
a chance.
Let's
oh
go.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
for real.
So what would be your advice to like someone who's new, like who is thinking about auditioning for a show or thinking about like fears for the process or all of those things? Like what
I would
you
say
tell
just
someone?
like unapologetically be yourself. Like go into that audition room and give it your all.
Seriously.
I think our casts and crews and directors and artistic teams are so supporting and loving, and they just want to see you be you.
Mhm.
That's like the first step. And I think when people think of acting and doing shows, they think they need to immediately put on a mask of a character. And I don't think that's true. I think everyone has their strong suits and things they would do well, and we can grow that and open up our box if we start with ourselves. I don't know.
And there's room for everybody. I mean, there's all sorts of needs for
Yes.
different characters and things like that. And, you know, as we all know, every ensemble, everybody is important.
Yes.
100%. And it's really cool when you have more diversity, like somebody who could juggle randomly and be like, oh my gosh, juggle, that'd be awesome. You know, things like that. There's all sorts of different talents, and you never know.
I agree. But we would never know that these people had their talents if they just like kept quiet and they weren't
Exactly.
themselves. So yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's those things like that maybe a director will see and be like, oh my gosh, well, you can do
Right.
that. Well, that's what this show needs. Maybe I'll think about that for the upcoming season or whatever.
Exactly. I think that's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I feel like Lauren's a big part of all the kids coming in too. Like, she really knows how to market to the kids, and she knows like she's very good with the kids, and she has all these teachers that are also good with kids, and it's a good environment for honestly children. They're doing really good, and then even the older kids are having more fun because I mean, Allie's coming into it too, which is again a new generation coming up.
Right.
I feel like it's really grown into a safe space, which I really like.
Well, and I feel like there's starting to be, and I'll plug myself, but there's starting to be clubs at this elementary schools that are focused in theater. There's one
Yeah.
at Oro Grande, there's one at Starline, one at Jamaica. And like, for example, those Jamaica kids, they know you because Russell, you came and did some
Right.
choreographing with Bailey like years ago. And now some of those kids are older and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm auditioning for a show at
Yeah.
Grace Arts. And that's what Russell did. And like, they are having that connection and they want to be part of that like family
I know,
that
it's
we
so
like
cute.
know and love.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that.
It's sweet.
I think that was my favorite part of Showcase was just I remember being little and like 6 years old watching the seniors do their little letters, like Tarneem, who's now in Phoenix and doing amazing things in Phoenix, and Cassidy and all those seniors, Mora and Elise, her sister, seeing all these people and being so inspired by them, like, wow, one day I will be them. And I like couldn't even believe that I was at that point now. Like it felt like it went by so fast. And it was so special to remember me sitting in that front row on the lip of the stage as like a 7-year-old, watching these seniors and then seeing that from the other side. being a senior and watching all these little girls and little boys that I know I have been a part of their artistic journey.
Yeah, and that's why I added at the very end of that video for the showcase was advice for the littles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because I knew that they'd all be sitting there watching, you know, so.
Well, and I spent like every show I was in the lobby like doing other things and watching the amount of kids come in to watch each other.
Yes.
Like the first night I was like, oh, are they allowed to do this? And then it was like, they would literally get off stage and run
Yeah.
to get back to, oh my gosh, the big kids are out there now. They wanted
know.
to see the next group dance. And I was like, oh, it was just so amazing
It's
to
so
watch.
sweet.
Yeah. I see all those TikToks and it's like, don't miss up, the littles are watching, and then it goes to the littles, they're all, I want to watch the big girls dance. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
cute.
so cute.
That's exactly how it is at Showcase, and it's inspirational. That's why I started dancing. Literally, I was watching Daniel dance on that stage, and I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is it for me. And
yeah,
then
it's crazy, and that's why
took
you
off.
never know who you're inspiring or who's watching you.
exactly.
Who's in the audience that needs to hear or see the story you're
Right.
portraying.
Mhm.
Like, that's why we go on stage. That's why we do what we do, so that there's someone out there that is like, oh my gosh, I connect with that character, or I connect with that song, or that emotion they're displaying.
Yeah,
Any of
and
those
it's
things.
awesome when people share that with you after
Yes.
a show. Like, you know, there's been a couple times where like one guy said it was, I think, My Fair Lady, and my English accent was decent, I guess. And this guy from England came up and he's all like, "You made me miss home." And,
Aw.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I
awesome.
love those moments. Like, I remember when we did James and the Giant Peach,
Mm-hmm.
like, all of us were like, this show is so fun, like, so silly and goofy. Like, we didn't think anything of it in, like, honestly, a meaningful way. And then Lauren, after opening night, came up to us and she said, oh, there was a lady, and she was so touched by your guys' performance. Like, she had her parents pass away at a young age, and that story really touched her heart, and, like, you guys really brought her to tears and stuff. And I just, like, had never even thought of the show in that way.
Right.
And that really is what it means to someone. And I think it's so awesome that the arts and theater can mean, like, one show can mean 100 different things. It just depends on who's watching it and what they took out of it.
Well, and there's the ones that talk to you and the ones that you hear about, but then think about all of those other people that
Right.
don't talk to you, but
Yes.
yet you've impacted just by being on stage, just by doing, like, for us, it's fun. We get to get up there
Yes.
and immerse ourselves in these characters and portray the story. And the audience members, like, turn off everything and go in and just, like, are in that space, listening to that story, getting touched however it touches them.
That reminds me of, there's a musical called Theory of Relativity.
Oh.
I've heard
And
of that one.
Yes, I actually just saw it because
Ooh.
ASU did it, not Gamage, but the college did it. It was really amazing. So I was really thankful to get to go see that. But there's a line in that show, and they say, it's in a song, but they go, "You've changed me and you will never know." Because, like, they're talking about, like, strangers on the street, like, people that do these things, and you don't, like, go up and talk to them and tell them that they've impacted your life. But they have, and that's, like, a memory and something you'll cherish forever. And I love that song, and I love that line in the show, because I think it's so true. And I think, especially in the arts, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so our podcast is titled The Missed Cue.
Oh Lord.
So we have to know.
So maybe this is where we should explain real quick what a missed
Okay,
cue is.
Ricky, why don't you explain? I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
you have
Great job.
experience.
Yes, I missed quite a few cues. So a cue is what is your prompt to be on stage. And if you miss that cue, you're gonna miss being on stage and leave your fellow actor hanging or whatever. So, as one of our directors always says, there's no excuse for a missed or late cue. So anyway, it can be detrimental to a show. It can really halt a show in its tracks. So that being said, Russell, we'll start with you. Have you ever missed a cue?
I definitely have. I'm not gonna lie and be like, no, I would never do that. Yes, I definitely have. Freaking, literally just one I can remember from forever ago is Tom Sawyer. Literally,
Hey, Tom
yeah,
Sawyer.
freaking. We were supposed to come on with like a lamp, and
Tom Sawyer was such a show.
yes,
I had my first kiss in Tom Sawyer.
with braces.
Oh.
Yeah, on stage.
with braces.
With braces.
Well, it wasn't
Both
that
people have
kind of
braces.
kiss.
Oh.
But still, our
Your
director.
first stage kiss.
Yes.
Well, my first kiss in general. Yeah, it was me and the other person's first.
Oh, we're not gonna get a name.
Person.
We're not gonna get
We're
a
not
name.
name dropping, not
We're
right
not
now,
name
at
dropping.
least.
I want to be respectful.
Investigate
Okay.
on your own.
Investigate on your own. But yeah, Tom Sawyer, I freaking did not have a lamp, did not go on stage. All I hear is Grace over the god mic. Russell? Where's Russell? I'm all running on stage. I was talking with one of my friends, of course, but like
No excuse.
no,
see?
no excuse.
Thank
That-
you, Mr. Late Q. I
No
love
li-
when Jake says that. Jake Ware.
And oh my god, freaking Jake's my favorite joke of his is literally anyone will say, I'm aware, and he's all, know that I am aware.
I am aware.
I hate you.
Jacob, where are
Jacob,
Jacob
Oprah Ware.
Oprah.
Theater,
But yes,
My
and-
second theater dad.
Second theater dad.
Oh, yes.
But then someone else missed a cue. It was Jake
for the
Zimatel.
same show?
No, in Seussical.
Okay.
Mr. Q.
I know this Miss Q. I can't believe you're calling him out right now.
Wow.
Well, it's just funny. It's so
It's
funny.
live. This is what we do.
Freaking Hillary and him were supposed to come out. Cat in the Hat and JoJo come out on the platform, and this is like the turning point of the show where things get really bad. And
That's literally the line, and they
exactly.
Just
He comes up and she's all, buckle up, folks, because now things go wrong. And she buckles her tail into herself. And freaking Jake comes out and he's all, I was peeing. I was like, you just missed your entire scene, bud. Like,
See, there's
what?
no excuse.
Again, no excuse.
No excuse.
No
I mean,
excuse.
that's his excuse, but like, show must
Yeah.
go on.
Right? We don't care.
We don't care. It's
Oh
going.
gosh, I wonder if we'll ever hear a good excuse on this show.
No, there's really
No,
no.
because
I-
there's literally no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no
Unless you're like
excuse.
bleeding out.
No, there's no excuse.
There's no
Even
excuse.
then,
Jake,
get your butt on
are you
stage.
kidding me? Jake, where?
with his nosebleed.
It's always Jake.
Yes, for Oliver.
Oh wait,
always
his
Jake Ware.
I
They were
remember
like,
his
they were
toilet
like,
paper
they were like
stuck up.
places, top of show, and Jake comes in the trailer with toilet paper sticking out of his nose, just soaked in blood. And I'm like, aren't you in the opening scene? He's all, yeah.
In true Jake. Yeah. Walks on stage.
Walks on stage with toilet
With
paper hanging
paper in his
out.
nose.
Oh my gosh, we need to let him tell that story.
No,
Yeah.
No
literally.
way, he didn't miss a cue. That's
Right,
not his
see?
missed
I feel like
story.
he's like the
because there's
only
no
person that can
excuse
really
and
say.
Jake knows it.
Yeah.
True that.
I mean, that's
Anyway.
why there's literally like garbage cans off stage. Like people will run off stage, like throw up and then go back on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show must go
Straight
on.
up.
So
So
Peyton,
I've missed one Miss Q.
just one in your
Just
whole
the one.
career?
Just one in my whole career so
Okay.
far.
So far.
So far. Well, not counting like rehearsal. I probably missed a cue in rehearsal before.
yeah.
Or like during a show.
I feel like rehearsal doesn't count.
But,
I
like-
mean, there might be an excuse for that.
Yeah, but I don't remember those because they're not like that significant in the moment.
Right.
Anyways, and so I missed one cue, and I was so upset about it. It was in Newsies, and I was going from a Bowery Beauty to a Newsboy, and it was a pretty fast change. My pants were so big for that show because they kept saying I look like a girl still, so they kept putting me in bigger clothes to like hide my features, and so I was wearing like a 4X pant.
Oh my god.
Peak
So-
costuming.
Do you have
Right?
some suspenders on?
Yes, so
Yeah.
here, like the only way they would ever stay on my body was suspenders because I could fit a whole other person in there. Like I actually could. Like if I didn't have suspenders, even with them buttoned, like they would drop all the way to my ankles.
Oh my god.
And so somehow my suspenders were like thrown on the floor, not by me, but someone knocked them off the counter or something while I was doing Bowery Beauties, and someone stepped on them and broke them. And so I couldn't go on stage for this dance number because I had no pants that would fit on my body. And so then I didn't go on stage for the dance
Oh,
number.
didn't go at all.
I mean,
You know, so
I went
that's
for
that's
I
a
went
question.
for the next dance number
Yeah.
because I had to get suspenders, so I couldn't.
That's a whole
go on stage with
different.
no pants.
That's a
So,
whole
like,
different subject. Is do you go on late or not
Right.
at all?
I always
Oh.
say go on late,
Me too.
but it just depends on the situation.
Right.
Like, because in that situation, there was no way I was going to get suspenders by the end of that number.
Well, immediately your brain thinks, in order to do this, I would have to hold my pants with one hand.
Yes.
And then your second thought is, can I perform what I need
But
to with
we were
one
like
hand?
tumbling and
Right, so
doing
you knew that
flatte
was not
turns,
gonna-
and I think in that number we did like a cartwheel to our knees or something. So I was like, I can't do this
No.
without pants.
Yeah.
So
See, and even
Change
even
the
though
whole
it's
show.
Yeah.
even though it was subject to somebody else's disregard,
yes,
let's say,
and it
there's
was
still
I'm
no
sure it was an
excuse.
accident.
Right.
I don't even know who did it because I wasn't mad. I was
Things
just
like that happen in
oh.
theater all the time.
Yeah, it's live theater.
So here's
Yeah.
the question: when it's asked by the director, "Hey, why did you miss that cue?" Do you tell them what happened, or do you just say it won't happen again? There's no excuse.
I feel like there's
It also depends, but like I normally say it and then I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it won't happen again. Like I understand,
Right.
like this.
like at
like, I
least try and
understand
explain
totally.
yourself and then
Yeah,
be
but
like,
see,
but it won't happen again.
as a
though.
director for stuff, like I don't care. I don't care
That's
what
fine.
your excuse is.
Right.
Right.
Like literally, like yeah, that sucks. Thanks for telling me, but I don't care. Just don't do
Yeah.
it again.
And honestly,
Yeah,
like
literally.
as a like
That information isn't helpful.
Right.
and as a
Yes.
director, like if someone came to me and like, okay, what happened? I know what I blocked. Why weren't you there? And they're all, well, I was doing this. And if it's a legit thing, like we can fix, I'm like, okay, that's fine. We can fix
Right.
that.
Yes.
But then if it's like, oh, I was on my phone. Yeah.
No, I agree. I wouldn't want to know those things.
Right.
But if it's something you could fix, for example, my suspenders. Like I
Right.
think that night when
Yes.
we got that note, I was like, yeah, I need new suspenders.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and that's
Fair.
like that goes along with what you were saying about
Yes.
rehearsal. So, like, let's say it's first dress rehearsal. Obviously, your quick changes may not go as planned. You're
Right.
learning
Yes.
how to do them. So that's an excuse, but that's really not. If you stop a rehearsal dead in its tracks, that's fine
Yeah.
because that's usually what
It's rehearsal,
happens
right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think when you're like getting that note, like, hey, this seemed off. What was? You're just like, yeah. And then later, you're like, hey, here's why.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
definitely. I
Because
agree
in
with
that moment, no one else that's sitting and listening to
No.
notes cares why you weren't there.
Exactly.
They don't.
No.
But if it's something like, hey, I actually can't make it from stage right to stage left in that amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
well,
I
and you don't want to be
change
the
that.
person holding up notes at
No.
the end. when
Yeah.
Oh
it's
no,
10:30.
everyone's
At 11
tired.
o'clock at
and
night,
it's
you're
11,
like-
yeah.
I
Please
have
let me go
trouble
to bed.
processing notes that late. At that point, I'm like,
Only when it's that
Just-
late, or like in general.
Or like,
well, just if you tell me notes before the run of the show, I will have those notes fresh in my head and I will carry them with me in the
That's
show.
fair, but like also, like what if you need to marinate on the note? Like,
See, I'm like,
What
I
are you
want to
gonna
know it
marinate?
right away.
What are you gonna marinate
what
on?
if it's like an acting note and you don't want it like 30 minutes before the show because then you don't have
Yeah,
enough
I want
time to
I
think
want
about
time
it.
to think about it.
Yeah.
If your character you developed is that affected by a little note that they give, then
No,
Yeah.
I
I didn't have
agree.
your
You
character
should be
myself in
able
the
to
first
do
place.
it,
Yeah.
but
You should be, but I feel like there are some notes I have gotten that I'm like, oh, I wish I'd gotten that earlier.
yes,
Just for myself.
to process.
right.
Like yes, if you know if you have
Well,
developed
that's
the
why I
character
have
enough,
filmed. That's why I filmed some stuff at the studio from some rehearsals, and I'm watching them back
Yeah.
because I know that there are, like you just said, you get notes. You're like, well, that would have been helpful 2 weeks ago, and I could have focused more
Right.
on it. So okay, I take it back because if it's an acting note, you do need time to process.
Or Grace
Sorry, I
yelling
went
at you.
hardcore. Like no,
I know. I was like,
no.
you were serious for a second.
or Grace yelling at you as you're
I was
singing
like,
a
Grace is
song.
listening, so I want to be like, no, serious.
No,
Right.
yeah. Seriously, Grace, like in the audience, she's all, louder! Or she's like, no, can you move over here into this, like, yeah, sure, can we restart? Is that, no?
You're like, no, we're
Okay,
just gonna
sorry,
keep
I'm
going.
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. That's how I always feel so.
See, I feel
And then
like
you're trying to figure out, and she goes, "Move! What did Russell?"
those are okay in the moment notes. I feel like, but
Yeah.
you do get a little confused. But then, I like when they go back over them at the end, and you're like, oh right, and you're like, oh well,
Then it
this
makes
is your
more sense.
ex. This
Well,
is
and
where you
sometimes they're
stand.
saying move, but they're actually talking to like the spotlight guy.
Right, yeah.
And you're
Right.
like, wait, me? And then you move, and they're like, no, not you.
Yeah, or she'll be giving you direction, and Carmen will stop the music or something.
Oh yeah.
Like, no, that wasn't for you.
I love that.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so here's this. I'm gonna give you a warning. It's the first thing that comes into your head. Okay.
Okay.
So if you can only listen to one show for the rest of your life, but you can listen to it as many times as you want, which show would it be and why? You can only listen to one musical.
One cast album.
One cast album. What would it be and why? For the rest of your life.
Okay, so I want to say Waitress, but a part of me is like, it'd be Almost Famous because I saw that show last year on Broadway, and it's like half a jukebox musical, half like original work for like the actual musical, and it's kind of like 70s rock style, but I don't know. I feel like that's more versatile than Waitress, so I'd probably choose Almost Famous because I would have options.
Right, and
Okay.
you feel like
Yeah.
you're listening to multiple genres.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
For me, I like emotional depth in my music. I like to have a wide range of like happy and then this is kind of depressing. Oh, love. Like it's a whole thing. I would like to choose Heather's Calm Down. Calm down. Please everyone
have
chill out.
Peyton's face.
Please,
it's like
everyone
she
chill
ate
out.
Something sour. Like, oh.
Okay.
Please everyone chill out because we
Explain.
have like come on, like give it to me candy store and then we have like
Yes.
Our Love Is God, like 17, like sad, sappy. Okay, Peyton.
No, I understand.
Please don't
but
give
it's,
this to me.
It's also just very like niche. Like it's very like I know.
Okay,
You are
Waitress.
being
I don't want to
judged
hear it.
right now.
Waitress has emotional depth.
Well, obviously, but like niche.
It's just okay. It's just like Heather's is so like it's funny just because it's like everyone's first like it's like a middle school love. Like that's what Heather's
I
reminds me
didn't
of.
find a Heather's until like
Okay.
sophomore year.
Well, like it's not a bad thing. Like it's just not.
All right,
Heather's is a great
Jackie.
show. I appreciate it. It's just a little funny to
I
me.
respect your
Wow.
choice.
I respect
Thank
it.
you.
Yes, I respect
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. What about you, Jackie?
What about me? Oh God, see, I don't know.
What was
It's
the
so
first thing that came to your head?
Okay,
you can't
so
think about
I know
it.
the first thing that came to my head was Rent. In all honesty,
Okay.
And I think it's because I remember as when I was your age or younger, actually, getting the actual cast album and like reading like the pamphlet in the beginning with all the words.
Yeah.
Like, probably way before I should have been listening to Rent. And it's like the songs in that and the story. I mean, granted, a lot of those life experiences in Rent I've never experienced myself, but the story and the music, again, it has like a variety of there's the sad, there's the upbeat, like it doesn't sound like you're listening to a musical all the
I
time.
agree. Yes, that's what. Yeah, that's
Right.
why I would choose Almost Famous.
Yeah.
Me too.
So we're all
See,
so we're
okay.
all in the right. Is
We're
what
all
I'm
in the
hearing.
right.
Heated
Ricky,
agreement.
what
I
about
think
you?
I made that sour face because because Heather's is like very like reminds me very much of musical theater.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Well, honestly, I'd rather listen to like musical theater, like sounding music than I like the layering and I like the build, I like the arc, but I'd rather listen to musical theater type music.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I respect
Your turn.
because I love musical theater.
When I was asked this question, my first thought was be more chill.
Okay, interesting choice.
Wow, I would not peg you as
Random.
that.
Okay, Michael in the bathroom.
See, that's also very interesting and kind of like
Yeah.
reminds
I
me
know,
of
it's very
like,
similar.
Yeah, which we had like the same like thought process and then they
Okay,
did.
so
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah,
they're
we're
good.
good. This
But
is why we're on
we
separate
are not
couches.
good.
This is why we have the couches we have for this reason.
It's fine.
Oh wow. No, I like Be More Chill. I think it's a little versatile.
We
and-
actually met the writer of Be More Show last year
really
at
Yeah.
ITF,
Cool.
Joe Iconis. Yeah.
That's really cool.
well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's the
So
show
silly.
I would. Off the top of my head, that was
I
the
didn't
one.
even
Right.
know you like knew that show.
It came on a random like
A good old Spotify random
playlist,
Yeah.
random
Smart
playlist.
shuffle.
Sounds about right.
And
Gotta
it
love
was,
a good
I think it was
smart
the
shuffle.
opening number, and
Oh
I
yeah,
love
More Than Survive. That one's fun.
And I love an opening number that is fun, like upbeat. The tempo changes
Yes.
when the best friend comes in. It has a reggae vibe for like 2/8 counts. You're like,
Yes.
okay, what's up? And
Right.
it goes right back to it. And then it has some comedy in it, like the slow motion section when the girl walks in. You know, that sort of
Yes.
thing. There's so much. There's so much jam packed into it, and it's introducing all these characters. I love a fast paced intro, and that's
Yeah.
what instantly.
Yes.
That was the first song I heard, and then I heard Michael in the Bathroom, and I feel like everybody has their own like relatable time in their life for that song.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. No, it's really interesting. I didn't know that, but I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. This was great.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to have you guys back again because I feel
that'd
like
be
this
fun.
conversation was just perfect. So you guys can go off to college,
Right.
get all those
Have some
experiences.
Yes, right.
Worst case, we just like zoom you in. I feel like
Russell,
technology has
I
come
mean,
a
you
long
could
way.
see you could see some more shows, and I can see some more shows as well.
We could like
And we
travel
could
and go
see
see
some
shows
more
together.
Cute little road
I-
trip.
I was like, wait, do we not get to see shows?
Yeah, not you guys. It's just
Not you
me.
guys.
Ricky.
No, we need
We-
further
we need to-
education.
Yeah.
Well,
Just-
yeah.
Just a little bit.
Right.
We'll just start sending you the things we find.
Yeah.